Welcome to Lecture 3, Week 7. Objective of Lecture 3 are to know training principle application in cardio program design, to know different stimulation to apply for cardio improvement, to know a general cardio program design guidelines. The outcome is to demonstrate design a cardio program. Cardio program design starts by recollecting and confirming whether you are applying the principles of gas and principle of specificity. Let's start by recollecting and confirming how do you apply the gas principles in cardio program designing. The first one is stimulation. So you should be aware about what are the different types of stimulation you can use and how you can monitor those stimulation to design a cardio program. And the second part to apply gas principle is whether you are giving an optimal recovery by creating a sequence of stimulation and recovery and retaining. So the different types of stimulation you can use to improve a cardio fitness level is long distance low speed cardio, short distance high speed cardio, a Fartlek interval cardio, a long HIIT and a short HIIT. You may recollect that these are the different methods of aerobic training which was covered in week 4. So you may reflect and relate and revise the detailed of these methods in week 4 lecture series. So the point here is, first, identify which stimulation you need and then make sure that you provide a repeated stimulation at a repeated interval with optimal recovery. So the second concept of applying program design training principles is application of specificity to improve cardio fitness level. Now recollect the specificity principle. How is this principle applied to improve a cardio program? The demand that you have to create is you need to make your cardiovascular and muscular system to generate a submaximal internal force repeatedly for prolonged interval, for prolonged duration. If you create this demand through training drills, which can be created by different types of stimulation, ultimately at the end of the training program, your cardiovascular and muscular system will adapt by increasing its ability to produce a submaximal force repeatedly for a prolonged period of time and thereby increasing your cardiorespiratory levels. The next part is the general guidelines to be considered, which is given by ACSM if you want to improve your cardio fitness. It starts by considering the volume. The general guidelines is you should be training 150 minutes per week at moderate intensity or 75 minutes per week at vigorous intensity. So if you consider 150 minutes and if the training duration is of 30 minutes, so total of 5 days per week can be followed at moderate intensity. If you plan to work out at vigorous intensity, then you may have a 3 days of workout per week. So if you have a mix of moderate to vigorous intensity of cardio workout capacity, then in between 3 to 5 days per week should be your frequency in order to improve your cardio capacity. Intensity for cardio capacity is at a moderate intensity, which can be customized as 40 to 59% of HRR by using the Karevanian formula, and at vigorous intensity in between 60 to 89% of HRR. The general guidelines to give a progression for a cardio program improvement, for a cardio improvement is you first progress by increasing the volume either by duration or either by sets, and then you progress by increasing the intensity at a given duration. Let me demonstrate a sample cardio program design for 6 weeks. You first start by applying the first concept. Acute training variable. How do you apply this concept? You apply it in step 1. You recollect the exercise history. Frequency, intensity, type, volume, and progression. So with respect to progression, I had again 1.5 weeks of gap. So progression is actually not applicable. The volume of workout, that cardio workout I was doing, is about 2.5 kilometer per workout, which required me 20 minutes per workout. How many times in a week I was doing? Around 2 to 3 times per week. What was the intensity I was doing at? At vigorous to maximal. That is in between 60 to 89% of 60 to 89% of HRR to greater than 89% of HRR. What type of stimulation I had trained? Using long, slow distance at vigorous intensity and a long HIIT and a short HIIT. Here you have to specifically mention the additional detail of long and short HIIT. So I had a capacity of performing up to 60 minutes of work interval and 60 seconds of work interval and 60 seconds of rest interval. And for short, it was 30 seconds of work interval and 60 seconds of rest interval. That was my capacity and that was my training history for cardio workout. Now the second concept is to design a program to choose an appropriate recovery method by applying an appropriate loading paradigm. Here 1 week of standard load, then 3 weeks of 2:1 standard load, then 1 week of linear load and 1 week of, I would not use a linear load too early because my cardio training experience is much more less in compared to my resistance training experience. So I would customize from making it 2:1 to and now it would be 3 weeks of again 2:1 standard load. So total of 3 plus 1 plus 3, which is equal to 7 weeks of program. So that's the loading paradigm I chose to improve my cardio capacity. The concept here is to make sure that the volume is high. Now the third concept is to choose an optimal stimulation and to give the stimulation in a cyclic pattern. For that, again you use acute training variable and week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, week 6, week 7. So you start by defining the progression first. Because it was a 6 weeks of gap, I would start the progression by maintaining the volume of my previous bout, which was around 2.5 kilometer or 20 minutes. Since it's a gap, I would not chase the distance. I would chase rather the duration, because chasing the distance is you try to increase the intensity to cover a particular distance in a given time. So rather than that, I choose to set stimulation with, so I choose to target duration to cover for a given workout rather than the distance. So the progression here is with respect to greater volume, and that volume I defined as 20 minutes per workout. I choose to work out at an intensity of vigorous HRR, which is around 60 to 89% of HRR. So I'd rather choose a lower range, so it would be in between 60 to 70% of HRR in the first week, and the frequency would be 3 times per week. Stimulation. So I choose a long HIIT type of stimulation. Because it is a standard load, you have to maintain the same load for each session. So I'll be following long HIIT 3 times a week with vigorous intensity and 20 minutes of workout. And I choose to do it using a machine as a mode of exercise. So you also describe the mode of cardio in the type. Now this is week 1. Now week 2 you choose 2:1 standard load. So you start by defining the progression. Now as a general guidelines, you start by progressing the volume. So here I choose to increase the volume, but not by increasing the capacity of 20 minutes of bout, but by increasing the number of sessions per week. So I increase the volume with, I mention it as a frequency, and you reflect it by in the frequency mode. Rest everything would be exactly same as that of week 1. 20 minutes per workout. Now this is a 2:1 standard load. So it means 2 weeks back to back I'm going to give a stimulation. Now here I maintain the volume, I maintain the frequency. Now the progression I gave it by with long, slow distance. Here I aim to provide to do the 20 minutes bout, but not in a interval mode, but in a continuous manner. Considering it is a continuous manner, vigorous intensity would be difficult for me to maintain. So I am going to change the intensity from moderate to vigorous with a range of 55% of HRR, which is moderate, to 60, the moderate intensity with 55% of HRR to 65% of HRR. So I try to do a cardio activity for 20 minutes non-stop, but at a lower intensity, because currently I do not have a capacity to perform longer prolonged duration of cardio activity at a higher intensity. Here the frequency would be 5 days per week. Since it is 2:1 standard load paradigm chosen, so week 4 would be again a stimulation week. So here again I consider what should be the progression. Here you can choose a progression as increasing the volume or increasing the intensity. Considering that the last two stimulation was with respect to volume, and I had a capacity of doing cardio at a vigorous to maximal intensity, I would be giving a stimulation by greater intensity. This is reflected by choosing greater intensity and stimulation change. Stimulation would be a short HIIT. So short HIIT is with So the stimulation is through short HIIT. The intensity is vigorous now. Vigorous to maximal, which can be written, the previous vigorous was 70%. So this would be now around 75% to 85%, 75% to 95% of HRR. Because I have increased the intensity, I will be now decreasing the volume, the frequency of per week, and the volume would be again 20 minutes per workout. So I haven't changed the workout duration per session. I have been only manipulating the type of stimulation and the intensity and the frequency. Week 5 is a retaining week, so which can be same as week 4, or you can do a little less. That would depend upon how well you have recovered from the week 4 workout. Now week 6 is just a repetition. Week 6 and week 7 you choose a 2:1 standard load, where there will be 2 weeks of back-to-back stimulation followed by 1 week of retaining. Now again, could you see the cycle of stimulation? It's volume followed by the intensity. So that's the cycle you can observe in the stimulation type that I have been given in last 5 weeks. So you may choose to simply repeat this to make the programming much more easier and not to give a lot of variety of stimulation, or you may choose to just give a different type of stimulation provided there is an optimal recovery. So in week 6, I choose to increase the volume by frequency, but this time I am going to do it not for long HIIT, but I am going to do it for a short HIIT. It means I am training to do cardio activity at vigorous to maximal intensity and at a higher frequency. So rest out would be same as week 4, that is the type of stimulation is short HIIT. Now instead of doing it 3 times per week, I am doing it 5 times per week. The intensity is same as week 4, which is 75 to 95% of HRR. The bout is same as week 4. Now week 7, again it is a stimulation week. So you decide what type of progression you want to give. Here you may choose to give a progression by different stimulation, this time a long HIIT. Long HIIT in week 2, what was missed defining here was the work interval around 60 seconds minimum and the rest interval around 60 seconds. Now here I progressed by challenging the long HIIT work interval. Instead of doing 60 seconds, I will be now doing it 120 seconds of work interval followed by 60 seconds of rest interval, and the intensity would be same as of week 2. So week 2 I am doing it 5 times per week, but intensity same as week 2. Long HIIT using machine. Here defining the short HIIT volume, work interval is 30 seconds, rest interval is 60 seconds to start with. Work interval 30 seconds, rest interval 60 seconds. So this would be the 7 weeks of cardio program. The checkpoint is concept of giving an optimal recovery following a loading paradigm of 3 different mesocycles. The second checklist is, are we giving a stimulation, and are we giving a stimulation appropriate to your cardio fitness level and experience, and is it in a cyclic pattern? This is the third concept that we have been applying in the 8 weeks of program design. Again, considering that all the concepts have been applied and properly executed, you can have a guaranteed improvement in a cardio program provided you follow close to 100% of what the program has been designed. In summary, there are multiple ways to give stimulation for a cardio fitness improvement. Progress cardio program with volume first, followed by the intensity. Thank you.